Hi everybody, TR here, and I guess it's probably time for an update. Yeah, I am in Tucson, have been for quite a while actually. I was thinking about it, plus I got called out a couple times online, and one of my friends called me and wanted to know if I was okay because I hadn't posted anything for a while on YouTube. And so I thought, well, probably time to do an update. It is December, and it's been pretty uneventful, really. After I left Idaho, I was actually going to head out to the sand dunes area there, west of I-15, out to, around, well, I guess it's west of Virgin, Utah. Not Virgin, what is it? Anyway. That didn't work out because I've been in this medical study thing going on one of my knees. I'm still on a non-disclosure, so I can't say too much. But I've been having some treatments done on my knees, and it's actually been working pretty good, I can say that much. But it's been getting done in Las Vegas. It's part of a university study. And so they called me and needed me a week earlier. I was planning on being in Las Vegas roughly the third week of October. My appointment was on the 17th, I think. But they called and needed me a week earlier, and so I kind of had to change plans. Plus, I was talking to a fellow at Ogden where I stopped to get fuel coming out of Idaho. Fuel was a little cheaper in Utah. And he was saying that there had been a big storm over there, and that half the roads had like 2 foot of sand drifted onto them, and that it probably wouldn't be a good idea to go over there in my Class A. And so I jumped online real quick and found out he was telling the truth. It looked like it was probably not a good idea to try to go over there. And I got to thinking about it, and I've been in sandy locations before, and it sucks. You've got sand in your rig for months. It takes forever to get rid of it all. And so I just decided to head on south. But the issue was, basically after I left Pocatello, I didn't have a plan. And I really don't run that way when I'm moving. So I kind of cut myself a little short, and was headed down to stay at, there's a campground just after you drop across the Utah into the Flaming River Gorge Canyon. What's the name of that place? I can't remember that either. But I was going to stop there, and it turns out it was closed. So I ended up going on down to the Overton Wildlife Management Area, which is really close to Poverty Flats, and I've stayed at Poverty Flats numerous times. It's a good boondocking, dry camping spot out by Valley of Fire, north of Las Vegas, probably 50 miles probably, I guess. Anyway, good place to boondock, but I stopped at Overton for the first time and really liked it there, and hung out and took some photos, but basically just kind of stopped and recharged. I was just killing time because I had my reservation in Vegas, and it was busy there for some reason. I guess there might have been a race going on out at the raceway, I'm not sure. But they were full, and they couldn't get me in any earlier. So I ended up having to kill 8 days at Overton, and then picked up my normal reservation. But what I ended up doing was I just drove into town from out there at Overton 4 times. Kind of crazy, but hey, that's what you do. I really couldn't find any other place in Vegas that I wanted to stay. I've stayed at a couple other places, and didn't like them very well. Too noisy, and on the flight path of the airport, and just stuff like that. So over where I stay is usually pretty nice. That's at the Las Vegas RV Resort, and that's over on the Boulder Highway. It's at Boulder and Nellis. If you know where Samstown is, it's right there. There's actually 2 parks there. Samstown somehow picked up the KOA, affiliation for Las Vegas. That used to be at Circus Circus. Thanks. And that's something that we're going to talk about because I got to fix that. But where was I? Oh yeah, KOA used to be at Circus Circus down on the Strip, and for whatever reason it moved out to Samstown. This has probably been 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. I don't know. Probably maybe more than that. But anyway, long short story, I always stay there, and so they didn't have any space for me until my reservation came up. Probably told that already. Got distracted by this hard drive. What I have is I've got a hard drive here that is been getting pounded on pretty hard. It was one of my main drives with a lot of the data on it that I'd mentioned in one of the retro videos about how much data I'd had, and so I was, I've been purging and cleaning and getting rid of stuff. And the primary drive, one of the main ones, is this 9 terabyte Western Digital I have. 8 terabytes, excuse me. And so I've been pounding on it pretty hard, and the interface is starting to fail on the hard drive enclosure. It's an external drive sitting back here. So I'm going to be taking that out and installing it in my workstation. I have a couple of open drive bays in my workstation that I can use to throw a couple of SATA drives in, and so I'll just take that one out and put it in my workstation. And that'll also tell me if it's the drive or if it's the enclosure. I think it's the enclosure. I haven't taken it apart to try to actually diagnose it, but that's my thoughts. So I ended up catching up with a friend of mine that I hadn't seen for 15 years from back in my IT days. He was the network engineering guy for Bay Networks, and then he went over to Nortel. And so what he was is he was a technical guy that would help you implement their equipment. And we got to be pretty good friends because I was a Nortel shop. I had Nortel phones, I had Nortel everything. You kind of have to make a decision to stick with one vendor so you can leverage all of the features that are available between, the networking equipment. Probably stuff that's not really interesting to most people, but anyway, his name was Rob. And so we've stayed in touch, and I reached out to him because I knew he'd been in Vegas in the last 6 months or something like that, and I just thought he might be there, so I reached out to him, and it turns out that he was coming back to Vegas. He had taken a job with a Cisco vendor, I think, Cisco in Las Vegas, and was going to be doing something for Cisco there. And but he wasn't getting there till Friday, and I was scheduled to leave on Saturday, so I was able to extend my reservation one day, and we had a great time. Pretty much hung out for 5 or 6 hours and just caught up. Decided it'd been like 15 years since we'd seen each other face to face. But we talked on the phone regularly and exchanged emails pretty regularly, just kind of, what's up, where you at? Because he's got a 40-foot Super A, is what I would call it. It's an actual RV that's built on a Freightliner chassis. Freightliner chassis, I should say. Let's see, it's a, who makes those? Renegade. It's a Renegade. Very nice. And then he has this huge ass toy hauler. It must be 30 feet long. And it's got 2 decks in it. And he's got his Mini Cooper in there and his Harley and, all kinds of other toys. At one point he said he had a Razor in there, but he got rid of it. But he said he's 76,000 pounds rolling down the road. Yeah, he comes from a similar background to mine. He comes from a farming, community, and his dad's a farmer and a dairyman. I think his dad does dairy, but I know he farms. And so, Rob had done a lot of driving of large vehicles, and so he's not intimidated by it. I was the same way, when I was in high school, I drove a 10-wheel truck with a bobtail trailer hauling whey, believe it or not, out and dumping it on farmers' fields. They used to throw away. That's whey, that they used to make all those protein powders and stuff. I dumped hundreds of thousands of gallons of that on farm fields. They just treated it like fertilizer. And so as I was sitting there in Vegas and getting the rest of my treatments done, because basically what I ended up doing was driving in for 4 days to get, I had to get an MRI, and then they had to draw some blood and do some other things, and it takes like 4 or 5 days for that to happen before they can start the treatment. And so I was just waiting, around, and moved into Vegas and ended up going over to Sam's Town and did pretty good. I won $1,200 on a video poker machine. That makes me about even with Sam's Town, to be honest with you, because I'll usually go over there at least one night because it's so close. I just walk over. But yeah, I finally got even. It took a while, though, I'll tell you what. I just drove basically straight through from Las Vegas to Tucson. I think it's 357 miles. So I'm going to stop here because I need coffee because I got a throat in my frog. Where was I? Oh yeah. I was leaving Vegas, and when I got down towards Phoenix, I was out about Wickenburg, and I kicked on the map, Google Maps, just to see what Phoenix traffic was like, and it was a mess. It was red everywhere, especially on the especially on the east side of Phoenix, where ultimately I had to go to pick up I-10 to get south. So I decided that I would take the cutoff route, and I knew about this because I had actually driven it when I went up towards the Painted Rocks National Monument that's up north of Gila Bend. So I had been through that area, and all it is that you have to go further west of Phoenix once you pick up. You come in on 303, and then when you hit 303 and I-10, instead of going east, which will really piss off Google Maps, go west, and you go to Arizona 89, and that's called the Phoenix Cutoff, and drop south from there till you pick up I-8, and then take I-8 back to the east. That puts you into Casa Grande, which is a cakewalk from there in Tucson. And it probably saved me, I'm guessing, 2 hours because that traffic looked horrible in Phoenix. There was obviously a wreck on south of Phoenix, probably down around the Mesa area. And so you pick up I-8, I think it's at Gila Bend, and head back to the east, and I get about 10 miles out of Gila Bend, and all of a sudden it's just like an explosion on the windshield. There was a couple wrecks. Whoa! Oh man, I just totally blitzed some bees. A whole swarm of them. Jesus. There's hundreds of them. Wow. That was wild. Let me show you. Look at that. My gosh. And I must have killed 1,000 bees on the front of the RV. I mean, it literally sounded like a shotgun blast, just pelting the front of the RV, I think. Whoa! Yeah, so that was the one thing that happened on the whole trip south from Idaho. You know, it was basically uneventful. So I get down here, and I'm kind of going over and putting together a list of things I need to do on the RV, and thinking maybe I should do some RV how-to videos. And turns out there is really hardly anything I want to do or need to do on the inside maintenance of the RV. It's been pretty solid. I did my normal things. I went around and I tightened up all the screws and the hinges. They tend to seem to want to vibrate loose, but the coach is 15 years old, so I guess you can expect some of that. Hinges on the doors, like the bathroom door, I noticed it was getting a little sticky, so I knew the hinges were getting loose on it. But other than that, knock on wood. Oh, the toilet, there's a gasket in there that seals the flapper, booby-doo. That thing's got a problem because it's making a lot of noise when you flush it. So I've got the gasket coming. I'm going to get in there and probably take that apart and replace that gasket. It looks like probably about a 5-minute job, but I've said that before, and it's taken 3 hours and 5 days of time getting parts. We'll see, but I guess I'll probably end up getting that fixed. The only other thing I got going on is that I got these LED pucks. Okay, oh, there's an email. Somebody loves me. So I got these LED pucks, and I'm going to be installing these for overhead lights. A friend of mine who has these, Andrew, is the one that turned me on to these, and he's got them in his Dutch Star, same year. And he really liked them, and I liked them too. They looked pretty good. So I bought a set of these, and I'm going to be putting these up. So I'll probably do a video on that. They're pretty simple, it's just drill a hole and run the wire. But we'll probably do something with that over the next little while. I do plan on headed out to Arkansas and see my dad for Christmas. So that'll probably be the third week. It'll be probably a week before Christmas. I don't know. We'll just see what the weather looks like. I always travel, I always try to plan that so I don't have to drive on icy roads. And, from New Mexico to the Arkansas state line, well, even in Arkansas, but from New Mexico to the Arkansas state line, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to run into some icy roads as you're headed east on 40 and 44, and then the Cherokee Turnpike is basically how I end up going. So that'll be out there, and then I still don't have a decision on what I'm going to do as far as the future goes. I've been kind of putting together a requirements sheet of what I want in another vehicle or in a new vehicle. And I got a pretty good idea. I think I want to pick up, I want a four-wheel drive, probably a slide-in camper type of a setup. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and try to find an old fiberglass bodied slide-in camper and then completely gut it and completely rebuild it and record that and make a YouTube series out of it. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. The decision to be made is whether or not I sell Rusty or put him in storage. And so to that end, I kind of been researching storage. And I'll probably do a video on this. It'll probably be next year though. But I did write a pretty extensive article called 18 Tips on Storing Your RV. And I went through and I kind of just researched, in total everything that needed to be taken care of to safely and effectively store an RV for, an extended period of time. I have stored it before. It was in storage in Denver, but different situation. Denver's a dry climate. I didn't have to worry too much about humidity. But this, it'll most likely be stored in Arkansas, and Arkansas is the complete opposite of Denver. Super humid there most of the time, and I'm worried about storing the RV in a humid climate. And so I did a lot of research on how to take care of humidity, and I've written that all up and put it in this article that I just recently posted to my blog. So like if you'd like, you can go out and check that out. I'll put the link up here, right? I think it goes up there. Yeah. Let's see. I have been doing a lot of writing. I signed up for Grammarly. My punctuation's not great. I'm a pretty good writer. I'm pretty accurate. According to my Grammarly reports, I am. I was shocked and surprised that, according to Grammarly, I'd written 444,000 and some odd words. And I'm like, wow, that's words checked. So I don't know if that means it's been rechecked, but anyway, 444,000 words. I thought that was kind of funny. So I guess I've been doing a lot of writing, and I have. I've been sitting here. I'm kind of putting together a memoir of 7-8 years of full-time RV living. I'm also working on another book. Sound like my back heater just turned on. I'm also working on another book about my experiences as an IT manager. Basically kind of a autobiography, if you will. I think it's kind of interesting. I've been working on it here for almost a year now. But, I don't know. I'll probably just self-publish those. I don't know if I'll ever, try to sell them or publish them through, a national publisher. We'll see. I guess that's probably about it. I'm going to wrap things up from here. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Thanks for checking on me, everybody. Oh, gosh, I almost forgot that I did open up an Amazon affiliate store. I guess it's probably Larry Fulmer. I gotta look. This is ridiculous. That's just amazing. All right. Well, Larry, you know who you are. Okay. So I touched the table. I can't do that because it makes the camera jiggle. All right. Are we settled in? Okay. Larry, you know who you are. I can't find your name here, but I think it's Larry Fuller, something like that. But he asked me, I think he's probably maybe the second time, but he asked me if I had an Amazon store or it was an Amazon affiliate. I didn't. It was basically because of my domicile state, but I've kind of fixed that. I'll talk about that later. But so I do now have an Amazon store, and so if you do want to support me, that'd be awesome. I got to say the disclaimer: as an Amazon affiliate, I do get a small commission on everything you purchase if you enter through my store or from my store. So if you go out and just click on the link I've got listed down here in the description, that'll take you over to my store. It's just stuff that's I think pertinent to RVing. I've got a whole store of stuff you need to store your RV. That's a lot of storing. And then also I've got a list of my gear, at least the gear you can still get. I mean, honestly, I'm shooting on a GoPro Hero 4 right now, and that's been my primary vlogging camera for almost 3 years now. And once I kind of got used to it, it's been a pretty solid camera. But that's kind of what I've got over there. But even if you don't need anything RVing, but you do want to support me, you can just go and click and go into the store. And then if you go and buy something else, I'll get credit for it. Somebody entered my store and bought a Panasonic telephone set after visiting my store, and so I thank you. But that'll be one way you can support me. I'm not going to do Patreon, however you're supposed to say it. I'm not going to do a Patreon. So I guess I'll share one more thing with you. I'm a tinkerer and kind of a geek, and really like electronic stuff, and so I've been playing around with Raspberry Pis. What happened is that I stopped into the Goodwill. I was looking for some short pants, and I walked over, and I always hit the electronics section, and I walked in there, and there was a Raspberry Pi sitting there, and it was $5, and so I snagged it and brought it home. This is last fall, last year, about this time, and started playing with it a little bit, and found out it was kind of fun. And so I dusted off some programming skills, and I wrote a couple programs last year. But this year I've decided to do it differently, and instead of using a Windows environment, what they call Windows IoT, the Internet of Things, I'm using Raspbian, which is a Debian-like Linux, okay, for those that are really technical. But basically what it is that it just runs a Linux operating system, and it looks like a Linux desktop. And it'll do everything that a Linux desktop will do, so far that I've seen. I mean, it's got word editors and everything like that in it, so, you know, it's definitely a standalone replacement to Windows and some of the stuff that Windows does. Let's get a little light here on the subject so you can see it. Again, you'll have to excuse my messy desk, but that's the way I roll. So what I got here is, this is a Raspberry Pi 3. I don't know, let's see, there's a shadow in there. And that's basically just a little PC. It's just a little ARM-based PC. ARM is the processor. That's the one I got at Goodwill for $5. I just got this one the other day. This is the Raspberry Pi 4. It actually has more RAM, and that was one of the things I kept running into as I was eating up all the RAM on that one, and it was running really slow. So this one's been doing pretty good. Then this is just a cable that comes over here to this breakout board, okay? And this thing just plugs into these little holes here. It kind of looks like that. Is that in focus? Anyway, they just plug into this like this, and that gives you access to the pinouts so that you can program it. And so what I've got here is this little temperature, pressure, and humidity monitor. It looks like this. There's another one, and it's plugged into this Pi. Also, what I have are these temperature probes. It's just a little waterproof stainless steel temperature probe. It's a semiconductor. Technically, it's a DS18B20, and I've got like a couple of them. One of them is just sitting here on this heat sink, and then another one's hanging here off the table, and then this one goes over here to the window, and you can see I got a cable running out there. So you can kind of see the cable runs outside, so I'm getting outside temperatures. And then they're running headless, what's called headless, so there's no monitors or keyboards on them. And what I use is this. So what I've got here is that this is the output from it. You can see it's still running. I've been running this for like 2 days now. But it starts right here with this identifier here, this line here, and then tells you the timestamp. That's universal time, so that's basically, it's 3 o'clock in London right now. Of course, the clock might be off too. I might not have set the clock. And so what this is reading here is that it's 70.6 degrees inside temp F. I need to work on the printout there. The barometric pressure is 936 kilopascals, or 29.92 inches of mercury. The humidity is at 29% right now. And then this is a correction factor that I'm calculating against a standard pressure and temperature sea level. Then we come down here and we get the compensator reading. This is the reading actually off the semiconductor chip, off this guy. Where's it at? Right here. So this is the reading there off of this chip. And then these are the readings. This is the sensor identifier. So this is the sensor ID on so on this particular device, this number here, 28-X, that's the sensor identifier. Here's a unique identifier of the record that's being written. That's just a way in databases to know exactly which record was written at what time. So then it writes it over to a database. Let's see, it's Maria database. Let's see, it's MySQL basically on the Raspberry Pi. And so if we come over here to temperature, that's the database that I'm writing to. And if we come down here to let's look at VME readings. That's the Bosch. This BME is the digital sensor, and you can see here what have I got, 12,000 total total records. But you can see how it records it. BME temperature, pressure, and humidity. You can have some fun here if you do this. We can go and we can look at a chart. I actually want to look at the timestamp, and it works better if you have this turned off. And let's start with the row 5,000 and go to 12,100. And let's see what we get out of that. It's going to take a minute to load. So I'll have a sip of coffee. Hey, you're crooked. But there you go. Starting from 12:03, which was 3 days ago. And there's some breaks in here, so this isn't continuous, but it's pretty close. But you can see here how the humidity's changed. Now we can go look at the pressure. Oh, it's still loading, so we'll give it just a minute. That was a lot of records. I shouldn't have gotten that many, so let's start here. And I'm having a lot of fun with just grabbing those temperatures and throwing them up onto a SQL database. And then, and now I'm going to start, probably next week sometime, I'll get back to it and I'll start working on an interface that shows me the data that's been collected, temperature, pressure, that kind of stuff. It's just something to do instead of sitting here, vegging out on the TV all day. I've been working with Python, the coding language Python. It's very popular. It's been around a very long time. I actually did some Python code. Jesus, this has been a long, long time ago. And I actually had a couple projects coded for me in Python back when I was IT geek, IT manager. So I've been exposed to Python, and it's a really good it's a really good kind of programming interface. I haven't found a decent IDE that runs on Linux yet, so I've been kind of working on my programs on Windows and then moving them over and running them there. That's kind of a pain in the ass too, so I got to find a better way to do that. But I think overall it's a good time killer. So don't forget to like and subscribe and do all those social things. I do appreciate that. It helps out a lot. The likes and subscribes kind of gets Google's attention and YouTube's attention, I should say, same difference. And they, offer your videos up as suggested content a little more if people are subscribing and liking, so I appreciate that a lot. Well, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Thanks for your comments and everything else. It's a great little community out there. I really enjoy interacting with everybody out there. Even those that are kind of trolly. I've had a couple of those comments come in on some of my other videos, and it's all good. It's all good. But, everybody knows how to do something just a little bit better than the way you're doing it. There were, Okay, that's enough. I gotta go. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays. Until we get together the next time.